Some ideas, they shake you out of your sleep like when a toddler creeps. Totality of the deep, the mere thought of an unconscious manifestation carried out with the beat. Positive charged protons creating neural explosions. Time hiccups when fingers and pads touch. Dead air smiles because it knows what's coming. The countenance of the clock claps hands. The choreography of the knot slaps jams. And you be like, who made this? Vertebrae responding to the call so bad to make a B-girl curve the wall.
Word Beats in Life, Fifth Element Live.
The elements of hip-hop are DJing, graffiti, breaking, knowledge, and...
Yo mama.
Biddy, did you come here to play or did you come here to finesse?
We can't all get a pair of socks?
I told you, Patrick, I was coming for you. I took you out.
You're still whack, copy?
Eats and beats.
Eats and beats.
Two of my favorite things.
My beat, making a beat from scratch. As you be making a dish from scratch.
I don't play games when it comes to cooking.
I normally start with the drum.
I'm gonna start with the onion.
I love to merge cultures in my cooking.
Exotic sound. It'll be a culturally influenced situation as well.
So this is the plate.
Jerk roasted chicken with tuna and mashed potato.
Hey y'all, my name's Serena. If you don't remember, I'm the Academy Director for Words, Beats, and Life. We are here tonight for our last panel discussion for our college material program for this session. So we're just going to be talking about college life, and we have some great panelists here to help with that. So I'll let them introduce themselves. We have Kosi. Hey Kosi, what's up?
Hey, peace, yo. Thank you so much for having me, Serena. Hi, folks watching. My name is Kosi. I use he, they pronouns. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. We're happy to have you. And we also have Ilana.
Hey, everybody. My name is Ilana. I use she and they pronouns. I'm a junior at the College of William and Mary. And yeah, can't wait to share with all of you some of the things that I've learned throughout my college years.
Cool. Yeah, Alana's going to be giving us the current answers because she is currently a student and the rest of us have graduated. So it's really important to have Ilana here, and we're super excited to have you here. She's also one of our Academy interns, so I'm happy to have her back with me for a little bit.
Thank you, Serena.
Yeah. And next up we have Sage. You want to just intro yourself a little, Sage?
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry, I'm having difficulty hearing.
Oh, good.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
All right. So, Sage, tell us a little bit about yourself. We can hear you fine, so just intro yourself a little bit.
I'm sorry, I can't hear anything.
All good. So we're going to take you off screen so we can help you with that. And then we will bring in Miesha. How are you doing? Intro yourself for us.
Hi, everybody. Excited to be here. This is such a topic that I love. College is amazing. So ready to talk and answer any questions.
Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to have you and have you all here. And we're just going to move forward and hopefully Sage can get back. And then we'll just loop her in. Exactly, Kosi. Fingers crossed. Hopefully she can get back and we'll loop her in. So whoever wants to start, just give me an overall of how was your college experience. We can jump into the particulars after. Just give us like an overall, like, did you love it? Did you hate it? What made it great? Any of that.
I feel like Kosi. No? Okay, I'll go. So college, as I said, was amazing. I came from, I wouldn't say sheltered, but still I just hadn't done a lot in high school, hadn't really left the area. Maryland is about 25 minutes from my hometown of Hanover, Maryland. Yay, BWI Airport. And just immediately upon entering the campus, and Mazi was probably one of the first people that I met there. But upon entering the campus, I was just in awe. I was so taken aback by just how many organizations there were to be involved with. And that's kind of where I came from. In high school, I was in everything. And so when I got there, I joined BSU. I joined, eventually I joined Greek Life and became a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Tried my hand out at government, student government. The name of our ticket was a Survivors. We did not survive, but it was a great experience to get to just experience running for student government in college. I eventually became an RA, and I gave back. I dealt the campus overnight stay program. So for me, it was campus involvement was amazing. And of course, eventually got involved with Words Beats Life and was editor-in-chief there in the beginning, way back in the day.
Nice. Well, thank you for that. Anybody else want to chime in just your overall college experience? Sage, can you hear us now? You want to chime in?
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
Okay, come on.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sage Morgan Hubbard, and I'm class of 2005, back in the day at Brown University, and it's actually been a long journey, and now I'm back at Brown as assistant director of the Center for Brown Students of Color, and I was also, like Miesha, very involved in campus life. I started the youth poet, the performance poetry and activism club in my freshman year, and it's still going on, so that's pretty amazing. Kind of like Words Beats in Life, sometimes when you start something, it just ends up having a life of its own. I was very involved in activism. I taught in prison. I did a lot of community engagement. I was also a student counselor in the dorm. So we had minority peer counselors. I helped do minority transition programs, and now I'm helping lead new students through that, and I'm back in student life. So it's been a nice circle, and I really support people to try things out in college. It's a nice time that you're in this little supportive bubble, and you can meet very different friend groups, and just really.
I think her sound went out. I think Sage's sound went out. So let's go to Kosi. Kosi, you want to give me a response to that question about your overall college experience?
Yeah, no, thanks. We're friends now, Serena. So we're all panelists. We're all homies now. My relationship with academia has been complicated, is complicated, will probably not be complicated. I'm also a Terp. I went to the University of Maryland. I live 15 minutes away from the University of Maryland. And I am the child of two educators. So my father is a professor at Gallaudet University, and my mom is a high school teacher. She works with folks of various abilities, particularly for folks who are deaf and hard of hearing in the public school system. And when I was a senior in high school, I told my mom I was really big in performance arts. I'm an MC, a poet, knucklehead of sorts. And I was like, yo, Mom, I'm going to NYU or I'm not going to college. Right? That was it. I come from, a lot of my artistic sort of inspirations at the time were Kanye West and Chance the Rapper. And I'm like, I'm trying to do what they're doing, and neither one of them went to college. I'm reading Ta-Nehisi Coates, and I'm like, he didn't go to college. Well, he went to Howard and he didn't finish, right? So I was like, oh, this is a thing or whatever, but I'll humor you. And I couldn't afford NYU, and I got into the University of Maryland. So in my head, I was like, whack, I'm settling. I could, I'm saying, I'm supposed to be ahead of the game, and I go into the University of Maryland and actually have a really good time. My freshman year, I'm freshman council president of the BSU. I'm getting involved as a spoken word artist in the scene, and around sophomore, junior year, I'm going through various majors. I went in as a material science engineer, and I was like, well, I think I really like computer science. And I was like, no, there's something about this that I kind of like. And I was very involved as a community organizing student intern in the MICA office. At the time, I was also interning at Words Beats in Life as an academy intern where I met Sage. And then I left school. I was like, well, this was fun. I think I'm going to do something a little bit alternative. I'm going to sort of do my artistic development outside of the university, and I'm still working at Words Beats in Life. And then I come back to the University of Maryland after about a year and a half sabbatical. At the time, it wasn't a sabbatical. I was like, I'm dropping out. And then I come back after, a year and a half, some time to just live and work in the sort of spoken word and nonprofit youth programming sort of industry by being a teaching artist for various sort of organizations and being a marketing specialist now at Words Beats in Life. And with that, all that sort of formation, I realized, I know exactly kind of what I want to do at this university now. I know exactly what type of experience I want to cultivate. And so before I left UMD the first time, I had already pitched my major, transmedia storytelling, through the individual studies program there. And this program is super small, and I kind of accidentally stumbled into it. But basically, if you can find a faculty advisor who's down with you, and if you can pitch to this board of undergraduate students, you can create your major, and they will sort of ratify it, and you will pull from various departments. And so I settled on what was called transmedia storytelling, which really meshed my interests at the time in film, video games, comics, and creative writing. And so I found something through all that experience, in sophomore and freshman year, and leaving school and taking some time to have some distance from it. All of that culminated into me getting my bachelor's in transmedia storytelling. And recently, I just got accepted to the New School's media management program. So I'll be doing a master's of science, LOL, at the New School this fall. So they got me.
Well, nice. Congratulations on that acceptance. I'm sure that's going to be awesome for you, even though, you might not want to do it, but it'll work.
I totally want to do it, but I think I wanted to be sort of the resident curmudgeon, because I think that it is okay, right, for it not to be a very pretty bell loop, right? You know what I'm saying? This is something that you have to sort of make and fashion for yourself, and I will stop rambling.
Exactly. And everything that you are saying you did and you're doing is a testament to just that. So that's awesome. Ilana, want to give us a brief recap? You're currently a student. Tell us a little bit about how that is.
Yeah, totally. So college life has been pretty great for me so far. I will say that there's definitely been some ups and downs, like Kosi was saying, and I think that it's valid to have those. I mean, obviously college is like a really important time in your growth and development. So I also think I'm currently a student. Right now I'm a junior. So right in the middle of my college experience has been COVID, which has definitely impacted things a lot. But overall, college has been so great and a place for me to really develop personally in my own identity and meet lots of new people with both, differing opinions and also people who have similar ideals to me and who I've, bonded with over those. So throughout my college years, I've been pretty involved, and I would say college has allowed me to be a lot more involved than I was in high school. I kind of didn't really know where I wanted to put my energy in high school. But in college, I kind of had the opportunity to try out so many different things, like people were saying. And there are so many organizations and things to choose from. So that really helped me kind of to be able to try a wide variety of things. I'm currently a DJ for my college radio station, which has been one of the coolest experiences. And yeah, and also just my activism. That's also been a big part of what I've been doing at college. I'm a confidential advocate for survivors of sexual assault, which has been a really important and special role for me. And yeah, so that's just a little bit about my college experience, but excited to share more. And thank you all for sharing. I love to hear about everybody else's experiences as well, especially being a current college student. There's always things for me to learn. I still have another year. So yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you, Ilana. So you all mentioned a wide range of universities, and they just come in all different shapes and sizes, right? So like, for instance, I went to Penn State, and I was always at main campus. So it was 40,000 students, and that was just the undergrads, right? And it seemed super scary in the beginning. Like, I remember crying on my first day because I could not find the forum. And some upperclassmen took pity on me and walked me all the way to my class. And then by the time that I left my senior year, I was like, this campus is so small. Like, you know, because it just seems so small now because it had been my world for almost 4 years. So could you all speak to just the different sizes of your campuses and, you know, how that affected your experience? Did you enjoy going to a big campus? Did you enjoy going to a small campus? You know, all of that.
I can speak. I guess so I went to Brown University, which is a fairly small school. It has around 2,000 students. I should know the exact numbers. I think it's around 6,000 undergrads and another 2,000 or so graduate students, and then probably another 2,000 so for the med school, but there aren't that many other programs in terms of, there's not a law school. I also went to, I was in a PhD program in performance studies at Northwestern University outside of Chicago, and that was a little bit larger school because there was Kellogg there for management and MBAs and stuff, and law school was downtown. I don't even know how large, but they're both like pretty elite private schools, and I've worked at universities that are more urban, and right now I'm in a university setting for adults that's kind of without walls, called College Unbound. So I've been at many different places, and and I think each environment has its pluses and minuses. For me, I went to a very small high school, so I wanted a more intimate environment. And also, like Kosi, I made up my own major. I did ethnic studies, and then also performance studies, socially conscious art of the everyday as like my major. And I got to work with some professors at RISD, and just kind of, because I wasn't really comfortable or like found my people yet. So I had that struggle too. So I think it really matters that everyone use the time of college to think about what brings you joy and what path do you want for yourself, not just what your parents want you to be or what you think society should be, right? But what to try out different things with internships and clubs and all of that, and get a feel for just the campus itself, but also off campus in whichever ways makes sense. So for me, it was in Providence, Rhode Island, or in Chicago, Illinois. because I wanted to be farther away from DC. But then I came back to DC because DC is always home, and places like Words, Beats, and Life are really like life-giving. And I felt like I needed to like go back to where I'm from too. So I think everyone should figure out their journey for themselves, and not be afraid to try and make mistakes and stumble and get back up again.
You know, I think Sage said something that I think is really, valuable, about sort of this finding your people and also sort of tailoring your experience to sort of putting yourself in a position where you and your particular inclinations and just your general vibe somewhere celebrated, right? To this day, I still have friends. Well, I mean, my partner, right, is someone who I met in university, and we've been together for the past 3 years. I have really, really strong connections with homies who we were, in the same program. The University of Maryland, where I went to, and Miesha can speak to that as well, is huge. It's a very large place, and they keep buying more and more land as we speak. So it's just constantly expanding. And it felt smaller because of those one, because Black student life is like its own particular bubble. There's there's 1,000 of us, and we see each other every sort of day, and that can feel small, just sort of in terms of like your identity groups that you sort of vibe with, like all the cool Black like activists that I sort of hung out with. Everyone knew each other, and there was like 20 of us, and we knew, right? It felt super small. But I joined the Writers House program, right? And so that sort of milieu was different, and sort of finding those either programs or like department organizations and stuff like that, I think really, for me, lacks that very big university feeling. And that was something that I had to, that I didn't have sort of the first 2 years, right? In my first 2 years at the UMD, it was very sort of, wow, whoa, 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 until I was like, well, okay, let me like carve out like a little room in this huge house.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know, especially for me at Penn State, it's a predominantly white institution, and even with 40,000 students, all minorities made up like 2%. So when we saw one another, we knew one another, even if we weren't friends, and even if you don't fool with them, they're not really your homie. If something happened, you supported them. So it did create this, this community within another community. And it didn't necessarily mean that you were all a part of the same organizations, but it was just that we're all Black and brown students and we got to stick together. So this does lead me into my next question about student-led organizations. And I know you all led some things in your day. Ilana, I know you probably are right now. So if you could just talk more about the role of student-led organizations during your college experience. Anything that you were involved in, anything that you saw, things like that. Miesha, you want to start?
Sure. So, I mean, this kind of ties into the size of the school as well. But when I did go to Maryland, I kind of cheated a little bit. I brought a BFF with me, and we were roommates the first year. We kind of quickly saw that we actually had kind of different interests. I gravitated towards Black Student Union and, like I said, eventually sorority life. I did become president in my sophomore year of our chapter, and it really allowed me to do whatever I wanted to do. Because I was president, because I had folks in my chapter who were interested in just a variety of things, like so many different things. We were able to program. We had so many different types of events. One of the things I remember that was so random, they didn't expect from us, was like we had like a raffle for WWE tickets. I'm like, I love WWE. And it was like we literally got like so much money across the campus. And another person, my line sister, she actually, we had like one of those not psychics, one of those folks that are on stage with you and they're like, imagine you're a chicken and you act like a chicken. So we did fun stuff like that, but we also, took our social activism seriously. And, we were part of the Black Student Union, the Pan-Hellenic Council. So we participated in marches. We were, very concerned about combating, supporting the homeless population in Washington, D.C. So it allowed me to be able to explore anything that I had interest in. Nothing held me back. And I felt that way about college in general, just, to piggyback on the experience of creating your own major. Like, college just seemed like you could do anything you wanted. Looking back on it now, there's still so many other opportunities I wish I had taken advantage of, but I just, being involved in the student organizations, it really connected you. And as was mentioned before, the Black population is so small. So you are a family. You literally know everyone. Even to this day, this weekend, I'm going to be hanging out with all Terps who I was with in college. Like, they're just family for life.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And you actually touched on one of my next questions, talking about housing and your experience. I know you said you came with your best friend, but I'm interested to hear, what were other people's housing experiences like, especially freshman year or even throughout college? Like, for myself, I lived on a special living floor my freshman year. It was called the MLK floor at Penn State. I don't think that they still have it, but it was supposed to like immerse all types of races and people. And it was cool, right? Because everybody was there. But I was away from all the other freshmen. I was on the whole other side. So yeah, my room was bigger, but I wasn't with the other people my age. So it was interesting. But I had a roommate who was from California and we had nothing in common. She's lovely. To this day, we still follow each other on Facebook. We had absolutely nothing in common. Like, it just was like, we just lived together. And then I moved off campus with my best friends. And then I came back my senior year to live on my sorority floor. So, I mean, that was nice. But I'm just interested if any of you have any stories or advice or do's and don'ts about housing. And I think that a lot of incoming freshmen, especially our students, are like nervous about that. Like, what if I live with a crazy person? Or, there's all these horror stories. So anybody got anything to add to that? Actually, I would be really excited to hear from Ilana because you're currently in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with saying that my freshman year, I lived in a dorm that everybody said was the worst dorm. It was like the farthest side of campus, and we had this little teeny shoebox room. I lived with a roommate. Fortunately, we got along pretty well, but yeah, so that was my freshman year, and I was really nervous that honestly would limit kind of like my access to campus and meeting new people. But it actually gave me the opportunity to see like this whole other side of campus. We had a little lake that was right behind our dorm, and it was kind of in a lot of wooded areas. So it was kind of nice for me to have that experience of being away from campus, like a little bit farther. And then my sophomore year, I moved to the very opposite side of campus and lived in my sorority house. And that was also like a very different experience and was a lot of fun. But also like difficult to live with, 15, 16 other women. And I think that's something that is common like throughout all of college housing. You're living with like a bunch of other people your own age, which is super fun and can also be kind of difficult. There's definitely going to be some conflicts and things like that. But overall, I would say my housing was a pretty good situation. I'm not sure if I should say this. I got AC. Our dorm didn't have AC, so I brought my own like separate unit that was like definitely not allowed. But that's how I stayed cool, which was just great. Definitely helped me out.
I don't blame you because I don't like to be hot either. And I remember my line sister, she used to make turkey bacon and all the stuff in her room on her George Foreman. Like, totally not supposed to have this, but we did any and everything we could to make it feel like home. And we were the only non-pork eaters on our line. So like, we were just like, we can't eat what y'all are eating and you don't care. So we would do our own thing. But that's awesome, Ilana, and I don't blame you with the AC. Anybody else want to chime in on their housing while they were on campus?
Can I just say, like, I was the RA, so I was the one checking out the rooms to see what illegal stuff was in there. I mean, hey, I needed room and board. I started my campus life in an all women's dorm, which was awesome. I loved it. Hate living with men, but my first room, I was in a quad, so it was 4 of us. Campus housing was very desirable, and I was lucky enough to get a room, honestly.
Yeah, we had a bunch of people that had to like live together. There were like bunk beds in some of these rooms, and I was like, that could not be me. Thank God I got my own. Sage, you wanted to add in?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo kind of what Miesha was talking about, that it's expensive. That's one thing that even if you get financial aid packages, sometimes room and board is not included. So being an RA is a way of doing that, or just like really advocating and being specific about room and board. I think I also lived in a dorm that wasn't the best in terms of like, it didn't have a good reputation. It wasn't like very clean and the newest, yet I made a lot of great friends from that dorm that first year. And I think we kind of like came together in the struggle. And I'm still friends with a lot of them today. So I think sometimes if you're kind of roughing it, it forms like bonds. And I would really advocate for more rights and trying to see how you can, because just college in itself is very expensive, and I don't think we talk enough about social economic class and like all the different loans and fellowships. And I think as Kosi was saying, and folks of like what we would do over, I didn't know there were so many fellowship opportunities, or I didn't really do internships like that. So I would have gotten paid for more things through college and not have all these college loans. So that's just like one tip. Whatever you can get a discount or, go in on things with people, please do, because it helps alleviate the stress, and then you can really enjoy your time.
Yeah, that's super true. I echo that, Sage. I went to law school after Penn State, and so yeah, I feel you on the loans part. And that's with my dad paying for most of my undergraduate. So, but I would have done some things different myself too. So just being able to be educated on all of these things that are available, all these resources, are something that we definitely want to make sure that not just our students know, but all students, parents, anything, because there's so much out there. There's all this free money and people are just not applying. Like even our own scholarship, like we can take so many more applicants and they're just not doing it. So we need to educate them to make sure that, that these things are available.
I just was going to add something, because on the social tip, I think something that I found myself guilty of, and I saw happening a lot at move-in day and whatnot, was folks were bringing in so much stuff like on the first 2 weeks, or just like on move-in day in general, and it was usually like, I will just speak on my experience. Half of the crap that I thought I'm going to need in this dorm to survive, I didn't use. And it sort of was just kind of like my room, and I lived with someone else my freshman year, right? Like it was like military barracks, this guy, and then like a box. And we just sort of had all this stuff in here, and it was really just because that culture of moving in, and you have your own cupboard and your own chest and your own all of this stuff, and you're just so excited because this may be the first time I'm living by myself on my own terms without my parents. I'm gonna need this, I'm gonna need that, I'm gonna need this. One of the best advice I got very late in my life was pack light and then add what you need as you begin to need it. right? And that way you're practicing that muscle of what are the things that, sort of re-cultivating your experience of like how am I going to live now that I'm by myself, and then also like learning to live with people is a very valuable skill. Something that I would advocate you practice in your first, with your first forays with folks. A lot of times it's like you either stew in silence and hate your roommate, or you love them so much and you're sort of best friends and whatnot. And there's can be kind of like a middle ground, right? And learning how to, como se say, communicate boundaries is like really dope. And I would just say that is a skill that you could practice intentionally in your college experience, right? How do I live with other people, and how do I want to sort of practice living with people? It's something that it's going to happen to you, but you may want to think about that and create more intentional sort of ideas about what that looks like.
Yeah, that's a good point. You bring up a really good point, Kosi, because a lot of what you just said is flexing those communication muscles, which sometimes a lot of young people aren't doing. And this is a more, not I want to say simple, but it's something you're going to have to do regardless, right? So learn it now type thing, where you're kind of thrown into it once you're now living with this person. But one, knowing your boundaries and prioritizing them, and then being able to effectively communicate those to someone else so that they can either meet them or they don't. And now you have to figure out how to mitigate that situation, So definitely a lot goes into living with really a random, you don't know them. You don't know them. But also, I know something that me and my roommate did was we spoke before we moved in. And we had a checklist like, okay, I'm bringing the TV, you bring that, so that we didn't have these like overlap of things. It worked to a degree, and then sometimes it didn't. But I also was from New York. So, my dad wasn't coming back 5-6 hours to drop me off something, but I did get a whole lot of care packages. So that was good. So I know a lot of us mentioned sorority life, or I'm also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated. I know, Miesha, you're a member of Z Phi B. My godmother is also a member of Zeta Phi Beta. And so I love y'all. She was not happy with me. She also went to Penn State. So when I decided to go another way, and then I asked her for a letter to get in, she was like, are you serious? Like, she was not happy with me. But I say that to say, I love y'all. I love all Divine Nine organizations. I feel like we have a lot in common and a lot of the same foundational, missions and things like that. And Ilana, I know you're also in a sorority. So if anybody else is, and I don't know that, chime in. But I was just wondering if you could all give me just what could you tell, students about Greek life, and how did joining your organization really help you achieve your goals? One, while you were in college, but also set you up for that time after college.
So I think in college, you have this elevated sense of responsibility when you join these organizations, because you're joining an international organization that you as a college student are just kind of one blip in the sea of all the members. While you're there, when you first join, you really do kind of think of it as your own little fishbowl, especially, depending on how many members are in your chapter. But I think it prepared me for life, because, those Saturday mornings, I was not sleeping in until 2:00. Like, it was either a chapter meeting or a community service event. It really forced you to be involved and to really be thinking about something larger than yourself. And even just kind of the basics, Robert's Rules of Orders. Robert's Rule of Order. I sit and watch, the Senate hearings and all of that stuff today, and I'm like, point of information, point of clarification. It just kind of prepared you to actually hold actual meetings and run them effectively, which is something. It is a skill. Like, the parliamentary process is a skill. I am not certified in it, but I respect those who are. So I would say, in that aspect, and really just the professional development that you get from the other members. Being in an undergraduate chapter, everyone's eyes are on you. They're trying to download all the information to you and give you advice about, which direction to take professionally. So I think that was one of the great benefits. And then of course, family for life. Again, half of the people that I'll be with this weekend are going to be members of my sorority.
Yeah, totally. Jumping onto that, I joined my sorority as a freshman, and I was definitely looking for. I think I felt the need. I felt like I needed to be part of something bigger, and kind of adding on to the size of the campus, kind of creating that own like nook of campus for me that was separate than like the larger population, and my sorority, one thing, it has really helped me in finding and participating in all of the organizations that I do. I think almost all of my organizations that I am a member of, I was introduced to by someone in my sorority. So that was really helpful for me, of just because there are so many things and it can be really overwhelming. But I think that having those older people, and it doesn't even have to be from sorority life, but any like larger organization that kind of allows you to meet older people, can be really helpful in college, just to kind of be able to get a lay of the land, learn some about the organizations, and also in terms of networking and helping to build your career. It's also been super helpful. So yeah, that's what I'll say about my sorority experience.
Yeah, I know for me, I was looking for that sense of community too. I knew I wanted to join a sorority. I wasn't sure of which one. And I think sometimes that can, if you're not a legacy, meaning that someone in your family is pushing that particular organization on you, it really depends on who's on the campus and who resonates with you, or what values resonate with you. So I ended up with AKA, and I don't know how I made that decision at 19. I have no idea, but I know that it was a great one, and it's really afforded me a whole lot of support, not only when I was on Penn State's campus, but it also just, when I left, and for instance, when I moved to Michigan, I'm moving 12 hours away. I don't know anybody in Lansing. I'm just here for school, right? And this whole entire group of AKs found me. And then I had this family away from my family. And some of those ladies are some of my best friends to this day. And I think it's always given me that sense of home and security. And it's amazing. And everybody is just, you lean on your shield sometimes and they're like, all right, we know you about something because you did that, especially when it comes to not only your sorority, but other people within the Divine Nine, because you just know that like we're about our business, and that's something that I can always appreciate. And it's also helped me. I feel like it being on my resume, sometimes it has gotten me in the door. It doesn't keep me there, but it'll get me the interview or the conversation sometimes. And then everything else, that I have to offer follows that. But it's definitely useful with networking and things like that. I'd like to ask that question of Sage and Kosi, not in the Greek perspective, but how did you have similar experiences with professional orgs or your cultural based orgs? And, did they lead to all these networks for you? Like, how was that?
So unfortunately, I think the downside sometimes of forging your own path and doing stuff that your heart wants you to do and doing the artist life for it makes it harder. I think the closest I have to that kind of network is I was a Mellon Mays fellow for underrepresented minorities who want to go and get their PhD. So like that was a crew, and we have conferences, and they will pay back some undergrad loan. I still haven't finished the PhD, but I'm close. And I reached out a little bit to alumni, and that's something that I really advise students to do. Is that's part of every college has an alumni network, and you're alumni for life. So to really use those resources, I think after I graduated undergrad, I went back home to DC and kind of did stuff that I did as a high schooler, but in a more professional level. So I coached the slam team instead of being on the slam team. And I really became the mentor that moved me when I was a high school student. And then in graduate school and beyond, I really found a different path, but there have always been people along the way, and talking about where I went to college did help me get into the door, get a interview. And I wish I had done more. And I think that's something that I was fearful of doing or felt uncomfortable at times. And now that I'm at this age, I really am no longer uncomfortable and want to. I know that's how it works. Like 60% of jobs happen because of networking, not because of I think I want to incorporate some of the tools of very successful people or mediocre white men sometimes, because that's what they do. I can see them advocating for themselves much more than I did. And I think imposter syndrome really stopped me too much of the time. And I don't want that to happen to other people at all.
Retweet, favorite, like, go. When my imposter syndrome is set up.
Can I just add, so Sage, you mentioned about reaching out to alumni. So I've continued on past University of Maryland, and I joined the University of Maryland Black Alumni, which falls under our actual alumni association. And we've really just been able to, up until this point, forge our own path. We've had, I would say up until recently, the university has changed a couple of things, but, we've pretty much just had free range to do whatever type of programming that we liked. In this past year, we really took on a lot of the social justice, financial literacy, and giving back. That's what we've been focused on. Penn State, you all are just kind of the model alumni association. My boy Chris Thomas, I know, is involved in that. Penn State, wow. Yeah, that's my boy.
That's my brother. Yeah, CT.
Yeah, exactly. See, yeah. and that's the thing too. The alumni associations of predominantly white institutions. We also feel like a family, and it's recognize one another. So that's something that I truly love. At one point last year, I thought I wasn't going to be able to continue participating just because of work obligations. But I'm so very happy to just be in the know. And we're still kind of developing our role on the campus. So with our new president, our new African-American president, we have a seat at the table. And he recognized that. He met with us. We got time. It wasn't like 2 minutes and moving on. It's like we get time. He gets to hear from us. Not only we have the undergraduate experience, but we just talk about what we want to see for undergrads and alumni at the University of Maryland.
Yeah. So go ahead, Kosi.
Oh no, I was just going to add a very small point. It's a point. I won't qualify it. In lieu of not picking the organizational route, every gig I've gotten in my life, every job I've gotten, every one has 3 networks. One, towards Beats and Life Network, shout out to Imazi, because a lot of folks that I've passed through or met, Dr. Tony Keith is someone who, I rekindled a relationship with during Words Beats and Life, and he helped me get into grad school. Folks that I met, like Sage, right? Your community, you are, university is a big place, and sometimes it seems like the only place, but outside of University of Maryland's walls, there are people who live in College Park, and there are people who live in DC, there are people who live, there are human beings who, in organizations and things you can be a part of and ingrained in and give to that will sustain you. So that organization, Words Meet Some Life, the Youth Speaks Network is a network of sort of slam poet Illuminati, and they just coming in as a slam poet or just a poet in the DMV scene. A lot of these, I feel, sort of brought into a large legacy, and I will meet people and be like, yo, you, what? Oh yeah, I know you from this same sort of network, right? A lot of folks who I can lean on, in just quietly moving in the shadows. Like I met the new deputy director of Words Beats and Life is Tish Jones. And Tish is the homie that I met through the same network and was just a really great mentor for me in that capacity. The last one is something that no one made. Me and a couple knuckleheads created kind of an artist collective in college, and half of them did not, the half of them, you know what I'm saying, are doing crazy things in various places all over the country. But we decided that, hey, we are like-minded individuals. We have various identity groups, and we are going to create a mission statement and a collective, and we're going to build the organization or the fraternity / sorority that we always wanted, right? And so I think I just wanted to touch on the points of one. Embed yourself in the community there, because sometimes when the professors is making you annoyed, you at least still going to do this because on Saturday you go to that library and you volunteer, right? Or make an organization on your own. I founded a couple. They're still rocking at UMD, right? But build your house too. You know what I'm saying? And you could, feel free to also do that, right? As not an alternative, but as another possibility.
Cool. Real quick, I just wanted to touch on, I don't know about y'all, but I like the meal plans. Like we had Chick-fil-A on campus. It costs more than like the normal stuff, but that was my first experience with Chick-fil-A. And now that's why I'm in love with their nuggets. And my dad would always purchase the biggest plan because he knew I was feeding my friends. So, so that was something that we always did. So how was like the food on your campus? How was like the culture? Like, just like we used to like hang out in the hub and have lunch together. And then there was always, block shows and different road trips to visit other schools and visit other chapters and stuff like that. So how has that been for any of you? And then we'll go right to this question.
Well, I'll speak for University of Maryland. Our food was the bomb. My parents, Thanksgiving, my job was to go get the rotisserie chickens for our Thanksgiving dinner. But I mean, I just lived like I could throw a stone at the dining hall. And it was just mind-blowing how much food. We had the pizza station, we had the grill, we had the desserts, we had taco night, we had wing night. The best thing about University of Maryland's meal plan was late night. The fact that you could literally go, I think it was until like 11 p.m. or something like that, and just get your wings, all the stuff that I cannot eat current day because I'll gain 5 pounds just sniffing it. But there was, it was amazing. They were always feeding you. They were feeding you everywhere you go, at every turn. I never used all of my points. I was always at the end of the semester, like, who wants food? Free food. It was more than enough to feed you in a small army.
Exactly. So I think the question that came up was any tips for networking in this tips for networking in the virtual world that often seems impersonal. Anybody have an answer to that?
Yo, folks are bored in the house, and they're probably watching the news and already feeling like they can't do anything to help all the planet being on fire. And so I cold emailed my favorite author like on the planet, thinking like, this is crazy. And she responded like 2 hours later. Right? I think there's a right now there's a strange place where there's this vacuum of positive interpersonal interaction, and so it would behoove you to like get over the I want senpai to notice me and shoot your shot because you don't know who going to catch the ball. I mean that was weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now a lot of people want to give out a handout, right? But they're like, oh, what do I do? I'm just the CEO of this entertainment corporation and blah blah blah, and they just want to know that they're doing something useful. So you can use that to your advantage.
Yeah, I'm gonna retweet and I'll flip it back to Kosi. And I've been working with Career Lab a lot, and this really is a time to use the networks. And one of the tips that the Career Lab at Brown says is like LinkedIn. At first, I thought LinkedIn was kind of like a weird format, but if you tap into your university and alumni networks there, and like you are really just a few degrees of separation, and you can start to really look for jobs, and people are out there and will respond. And especially if you ask someone to help you get to know. I've helped people get jobs at Google, and you can even defer jobs now. Like you can get in and then take the summer off. Like there's so many possibilities. So don't be afraid to ask and to be your authentic self, not trying to be like someone else. But if you're true to yourself and like are real genuine, like Kosi said, like go for what you really want, right? The person who you really admire and want to be their, intern, and then ask for money to get paid, right? So all of this is possible. And I think we're more connected online than ever before. And I've also known like a lot of people who've gotten Fulbright fellowships and stuff through people that they've never known before. But if you tie those connections together, you can make anything happen, from a little internship to a Fulbright or a graduate school application. So yes, the world is your oyster now.
Yeah, that's so true, Sage, and Kosi. It's, my mom always told me, ask and you shall receive. And if you don't ask, like nobody knows, people want to help. They're looking for people to help. So just real quick, we're wrapping up. I just was wondering if you all could share one piece of advice that you wish somebody would have told you when you were entering college about what college life was going to be and what you should and should not do. Ilana, let's start with you.
I will say that my one piece of advice is it's okay if your friends change throughout college, because you are going to change so significantly. And I think that a lot of people see that as a bad thing, but you're just going to grow so much. So it makes sense if your friends change throughout college, if you're not as close with people from high school anymore, like that's also valid. So that's what I'll say.
Yeah, anyone else? Real quick as we're wrapping, Miesha?
Sure. It is okay, and it will be okay if you get to college and you don't know what you want to do. I'm a prime example of that. I literally had no idea what I wanted to do. I chose a major because I had to choose a major, and if I didn't, my parents would not be happy. But it's okay to not know what you want to do. And I feel like this generation just has so many opportunities to make your own path. I truly wish that I would have been in that mindset back then. So that's what I'll say.
Yeah. And I would follow up that with like ask questions. There are no stupid questions. Just keep on asking, experiment, try things, because you don't really know what that path may lead you to. And this is the time to like explore your identity and like be uncomfortable and push your boundaries, because it's 4 years or more for you to learn and grow. So take that opportunity to learn.
Yeah, I would tell freshman Kosi that college is a place where you practice things you aren't good at. A lot of the times, I think I came in with a product-oriented approach to my college education, right? I go to this 4-year university, and what comes out is a valid career path or skill set. I left college without a skill set, maybe, I don't know. But what I did come out of college with was a framework, right? Like a lens to see the world. And that it was a very specific lens afforded to me by the media studies program there, right? What you are leaving with is not a job or a idea of what to do working. You're going to a university to practice or explore or develop a frame to which you will experience the world, right? And so, early on, make sure that's broad. You don't know what you're going to like. And then see how to specialize the frame, not because that's going to be how you're going to be looking at every problem, right? Coming forward, it's going to be sort of a function of the lens that you could develop in these 4 years.
Thank you, everyone. That was awesome. I think what I would say is it's okay to be uncomfortable, and that's where you're going to find the most growth. And you're going to fail, and that's again where you're going to find the most growth. I've only succeeded after I failed, so and that's okay. And being comfortable with that is where you really, really grow. So thank you everyone for being here. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Sasa, thank you for your question. We're happy to answer any more you ever need answered. She's one of our youth poet laureates, so happy to see you in our comments. And I hope you all have a great night. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, all of that, and tune in on Sunday for Eats Plus Beats. Thanks everyone. Good night.
Bye.